Jim Acosta. Jim, welcome.
Yeah,
Hey, Jen and April, how are you? Great to see you.
fine. Well, Jen, I call him my brother from another mother.
Yep,
Jim and I, Jim
my
and I
sister
have
from
been,
another mister.
yes, yes, we have been through the trenches together and still going through. But Jim,
Yeah,
thank you for joining today. And you always show up and show out. You've got a lot of information of what's going on, we understand, out in the streets.
yeah.
You were just at well, you're still at Black Lives Matter Plaza, but tell us about some tense situations there and also what happened in Culpeper, Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're just seeing some news coming in, guys. Apparently, a man drove into a crowd of protesters at a No Kings rally in Culpeper, Virginia. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of Washington, D.C. And we don't know all the circumstances at this point, but apparently there was a No Kings rally going on, a No Kings protest. And this man intentionally, according to authorities, drove into the crowd. Now, we don't know what the circumstances were. Did he do it intentionally to hurt people, to disrupt the rally? We don't know. But obviously, happening in a state, the same state as Charlottesville,
Yeah.
Virginia, it makes you wonder, my goodness, could something similar have happened earlier today? I will tell you, I was here earlier today. I was covering this as part of some live coverage I was doing on my show with Don Lemon and Joy Reid. And I'm right above Black Lives Matter Plaza, which was, named that after the George Floyd protest by Mayor Muriel Bowser. And I was down here at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and there were some protests going on. Some No Kings Rally protesters were here peacefully protesting, making their voices heard, doing what they should be doing. And there were some Trump supporters who came in. There was a lady with a Donald Trump flag. And it got a little tense in there, I will say, for about 15 or 20 minutes. But you know what, Jen and April? It dissipated. The tension dissipated and the peaceful protest continued. And I think, listen, the feeling that I have today is a good feeling at the end of these No Kings protests because this feels like the beginning of something that is building in this country. And Donald Trump, he laid this trap, he set out this mousetrap, he put the bait on it. He was hoping that protesters would show up and that there would be a confrontation and that they could go in there and crack some skulls because that's what he wants. He wants those images playing on Fox and in conservative media. And by and large, it seems the protesters did not give Trump what he wanted. And I think that's a very clear and convincing, I think, testament to the power of the people getting out in the streets and making their voices heard.
Exactly. And the point is not to eliminate conflict. We're a big, great democracy with lots of different people. It's to resolve our differences and our conflicts peacefully. I have to ask you because I know you know him from coverage, and he's really kind of a beloved figure around the Capitol. What did you think when you saw the footage of Senator Alex Padilla really manhandled, thrown to the ground,
Yeah.
handcuffed for asking a question? I must say, I thought a little bit about another reporter who asked questions and paid a penalty. But in this case, he received violence. He was
Yeah.
brutalized. What did you think when you saw Senator Alex Padilla the other day?
I have to say, Jen, my blood was boiling after I saw what took place with Senator Padilla. I immediately went on my Substack and spoke with my friend Maria Cardona about this. I believe that that only happened because Senator Alex Padilla has brown skin and has a Spanish last name, has a Hispanic last name. Would they have thrown Lindsey Graham to the ground? Come on, give me a break. Would they have thrown, Senator Rand Paul to the ground like that? Of course not. And the reason why that happened to Alex Padilla is because of who he is and where he comes from. And, if you talk to friends of Alex Padilla, they will tell you he is the most mild-mannered. He
Yes.
doesn't go, he's not a showboater. He doesn't do that kind of stuff. But he felt so compelled in that moment to say something to Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, who really has disgraced herself. I mean, let's just be real. She has disgraced
Yeah.
herself as the Secretary of Homeland Security. She is going to go down as probably the most disgraceful Homeland Security Secretary in this country's history. And because of the way these mass deportations have been conducted over the first few months of this administration. And for a United States Senator to be treated that way, and I think Alex Padilla said this, if I can be treated this way, that means anybody else can be treated in this way. And it made me think, we need and again, if I get the words wrong, forgive me, but I do in my deepest part of my soul believe that we need a civil rights movement of Latinos and Latinas in this country. We need a movement. We need a million Latina rally march on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C. I think it is high time for something like that to happen in this country. We need Latino leaders in this country to come together and coalesce. And where is Marco Rubio? My
Mm.
God, he's
At
the
the parade.
Secretary of State. Where is he?
He's at the parade.
He's at the parade. But my God, look at the way that the Trump administration is treating Cuban refugees.
Yeah.
The United States is turning its back on people fleeing totalitarianism. I can't believe this is the United States of America. It doesn't make any sense to me. And that is why today is so important, because people
Yeah.
bring all of their lived experiences with them. They pour their heart and soul into what took place earlier today. And I'm personally very proud of everybody. And in a
Yeah.
world where all we see every day is this negative story or that story makes us depressed and this is bad and so on, I think people should take from today a very positive feeling. This was a good day for protests in America. Obviously, the situation in Minnesota is totally tragic and heartbreaking and horrible. But the No Kings protests, I think, set a very important marker in this country, and that is peaceful, nonviolent protest can happen in America against this regime, and it can make change. And I think the change that was made today is demonstrating to people is that your voice does matter. You can't just throw in the towel. You can't
Yeah.
just say, "Well, he's in there. We're stuck with him for another 3 years. What are we going to do?" No, I think today sent the message that you can do more, and you can do it in a way that makes a big difference.
So, Jim, today is a mosh of, like you said, a lot of different things, from the ICE raids, uh, due process that we're not seeing in some of these cases,
Yeah.
profiling, also the fact that this president has just cut across laws. He's doing what he wants. If you had a chance to be back in that briefing room or in the Oval Office,
Yeah.
what would you ask Caroline Levitt or the president?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I asked Caroline Levitt the other day. I sent her a message over
Email.
XDM,
Oh,
and
okay.
I said, not email. I'm going to do that, April, but I did it over DM, and I said, "Can I have an interview with Donald Trump?" And she wrote back and said, "With you?" Question mark. I said, "Yeah," and I didn't hear back from her. So the offer has been extended,
Wait a minute. This is
Caroline
breaking
Levitt.
news. This is breaking news. It's,
I did
it's
put that out there.
breaking news.
They're
Okay.
they're they're wimps. They're never going to let me in there. They're never going to give that
Who's saying
interview.
that? You're not going to get an interview. I
But
want you to
Donald
get
Trump,
this
let me tell you
interview.
something. The question I would ask is this: why do you hate the Hispanic people of this country? Why
Oh,
do you hate the Latino people of this country? Just tell me. What happened? What happened to you? What happened to you, Stephen
you and
Miller?
I know this. You and I covered that first administration. You and I know this. What does 2035 look like? It looks like brown America. He does not like the browning of America. You know
Yeah.
why. It's just like
Yeah.
when I asked the question, Mr. President, are you racist? I
But
didn't
then you know what
need to
that
ask
means,
that
April?
now.
But April, you know what that means for a man that likes to have a dictator parade for himself with the paratroopers jumping out of airplanes, and God bless him. God bless the United States Army. My grandfather was in the Army. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
Wow.
Donald Trump likes to hug the flag and say he loves America. But if what you're saying is true, April, what this means is Donald Trump hates America. He actually hates what America is becoming. And if he hates the fact that we're becoming a more diverse, more loving, more together country, then that I think is at the heart of where we are right now. And that's what we're up against. We're up against somebody who hates the future of America. And the future of America needs to come to the rescue of America, in my view. And I think that's what we're starting to see right now. The young people of this country get it. They totally get this. They're like, what is wrong with the olds? You know what I mean? Like, why do you have the problems with minorities? Why do you have problems with gays and the LGBTQ plus community? Why they don't get it. Those folks, as they get older, they're going to have kids, they're going to have grandkids, and this is just moving in the direction that Donald Trump doesn't like. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
you lost. You may have won this election by a smidge, and you got back in the White House. Okay, there you go. But
No, both
he
he and
ultimately loses where this is going.
He and Elon both said it was rigged, so the jury's out on that one right now.
That's true. That's true.
Well, Jim, I think what you just said is so important. I spent
Yeah.
40 years of my life in California, and California kind of epitomizes America. It's always
It does.
been this very diverse, very progressive place. It was founded by Hispanics. It was founded by people who
Right.
came from what is now across the border.
Yeah.
And so no wonder he hates Los Angeles and California. It's
Hmm.
the vision of America that he can't accept.
I got a question though. Where are the ICE raids at the Trump properties?
Mar-a-Lago, yes,
Can somebody call ICE on the Trump golf course in Virginia? You're
Yes,
telling me
by
there's
the way.
nobody in there that is undocumented or has some kind of squirreliness going on with their paperwork? Give me a
Yeah,
break. Hey, how
exactly.
many immigrants has he married? He's got one buried at his golf course in New Jersey.
Oh
Isn't
my
she
God.
buried by the first hole or the second tee or something like that?
the first
I-
hole. Yeah, it's the first hole.
Immigrants
is why
always
he
doing the
doesn't want to
jobs
get
that
CNN.
Americans don't want to do.
He's
Isn't
too
that
That's
what
why
funny.
the
they're
deal is?
not going to get the interview. They're going to see this and they're like, nope, nope, nope. Oh my God, it's going to be a fist fight.
Exactly. But you know what, Jim? I gotta say, there was an announcement, or there was at least a story, not an announcement yet. Trump now has decided these guys going into restaurants and
Yeah.
hotels and agriculture because that's going to wreck America. Who could have told him? Who could have predicted that instead of going after criminals, when you start going after hardworking people, the economy and the country is going to come apart at the seams? Gosh, if we
That's
only
right.
told them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's what our economy is built on. I mean, my dad came over from Cuba, worked at Safeway grocery stores for 40 years. My mom, she's the child of immigrants and worked in restaurants. And like, that's what built America. I'm sorry. And so we're just going to wreck all of that. And we're going to pull all these, who's going to do all this work? And that's,
Unbelievable.
honestly, this is what America was built by immigrants. And
Exactly.
I don't understand, Donald Trump, he's running off golf courses and hotels and casinos. Are you kidding me?
And his
Does he not
grandfather
realize?
was German. Remember, the
Yeah,
German chancellor came over and gave. No, I mean, so
yeah, there is that too. Yeah,
it's a
Exactly.
certain immigrant. It's a certain immigrant he wants that doesn't look like
Exactly.
you or
well,
me.
I remember that from the shithole country thing.
Yeah.
At the
Yes,
time, it was
exactly.
reported that he was wondering why can't we get more from Norway and that sort of thing. And I actually asked him in the Oval Office, did you say that? Do you just want people coming in from white countries? And he just about lost his mind. He doesn't like to be called out for his lies and his racism. And that's what I would do. If
Exactly.
I sat down with him for an interview, that would be the two subjects that we would tackle the entire time, his lies and his racism. For
Exactly.
foreign
And that's,
policy, all that other stuff, that's, okay, whatever. Lies and racism. He
well,
can't,
You
he
that's
heard it
why
can't
here
handle it.
first. You heard it here first, everyone. Jim Acosta has asked for an interview of President Donald Trump. He's going to talk about lies and racism if Caroline Levin and the rest of those allow him, and Taylor allow him
exactly.
to get
Exactly.
the interview. Yeah.
I'm right here,
Jim,
guys. I'm right across the street.
I,
We could do it. We can go now.
there
Try,
you go.
try to
There
get
you
in.
go.
Go try to get in.
Yeah, exactly. You
Film it.
first. I'll be right behind you, Jim, way behind you. Jim, thank you so much. You're such a
Good to see
great
you.
friend of the Contrarian. We love you. See you
Love you
next
too.
time.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care.
ladies. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Oh, I love that man.